Welcome to today's free webinar, which is called Move Your Ass, Change Your Life. And it's basically fitness without the fads or the gym-timidation. And before anyone panics, no, this is not a lecture about burpees, bootcamps, or earning your fucking food. This is not a punishment disguised as Pilates, even though I am a Pilates instructor. This isn't fitness wrapped up in shame with a friggin' beige pastel aesthetic. This session is about joyful movement, about movement that feels good in your body and movement that fits your life. Because we want movement that doesn't make us dread tomorrow. Now, I don't know about you, but somewhere along the way, I noticed that fitness actually got hijacked. Fitness became very loud and aggressive, expensive, and very weirdly demoralizing. Like, if you're not smashing yourself 6 days a week, dripping in sweat and hating every single fucking second of it, you're basically not doing it right. So I just want to say this straight out of the gate. You might hate me, but if your fitness routine makes you miserable, guess what? It's not working, is it? Right? Now, you don't need another fucking fad. You don't need to push harder. You definitely don't need to transform your body. Transform. I said firm, right? But you don't need to transform your body to be worthy of movement, right? What you do need is to move in a way that makes you feel alive and not ashamed. Because movement isn't about punishment. What movement is actually about is participation, and it's about energy and confidence and mood and strength and showing up in your life with just a little bit more spark. And in today's session, we're going to be talking about a whole heap of different things, right? And this is for anybody who's ever, one, avoided the gym because it felt intimidating. 2, maybe quit a program because it felt unsustainable. Maybe 3, somebody that's felt judged or watched or out of place in fitness spaces. Or 4, maybe even someone who told themselves, I'll start again when I'm fitter, which is one of the biggest friggin' lies that the fitness culture that we live in has ever sold us. So today we are going to be ditching all the fads and we're going to be calling out gym-timidation for what it actually is. We'll be reframing fitness as something that you get to do, not something that you're punished with. Because when movement feels good, guess what happens? You do it again. And when you do it again, it becomes a habit. And when it becomes a habit, like me walking on my walking pad whenever I do these, guess what? It changes everything. So please take a breath, drop the pressure, and I want you to get ready to rethink fitness in a way that actually works for real humans with real lives. Maybe get a notebook or whatever your preferred note-taking option is. And welcome to Move Your Ass, Change Your Life, because today it starts with joy and it doesn't start with judgment. So I'm going to cut the shit. No fucking Lycra pressure. Even though I love Lycra, I love me some good Lycra. But no transformation porn, no whistleblowing fucking boot camp energy, okay? That boot camp that you did with the 26-year-old called Brie wearing Lululemon. We're not going to bring that energy because you didn't come here for fitness fairy dust or someone yelling motivational quotes at you through a fucking megaphone. Sure, I can do that. That's not what you came here for. You didn't come here to be told that you're not trying hard enough or you're not disciplined enough and you're not sweaty enough. You came here into this session because your body is whispering, okay? Or maybe your body is screaming. Maybe your body's just like, move me, fucking come on, okay? But we're not going to address this today with shame or punishment. You're not here because you smashed a block of fucking Cadbury last night and now you feel like you need to repent on a treadmill. Okay, I'm not doing that. I just love being on my walking pad. But you're here because deep down you already know the truth. And the truth is that movement is medicine and that motion is lotion. And you feel it, right? When you've been sitting for too long. You feel it when your mood's flat and your joints are stiff and your patience are thin and your energy feels really stuck like the handbrake's on. Now that feeling of heaviness, it's not a character flaw. It's your body asking for circulation and connection and just a little tiny tad of love, right? Because the problem, it's not that you don't value movement. The problem is that somewhere along the way, movement, it got wrapped up in rules and judgment and all or nothing expectations and fitness spaces that make you feel really watched and measured and not quite enough. And we've all been there. I've been there. So instead of listening to your body, what you've been doing is negotiating with fear. Fear of looking stupid. Fear of not doing it, right or correct or whatever. Fear of starting and then stopping again. And honestly, who can blame you, right? But there's a reframe that I want you to sit with today. The reframe is this. You don't actually hate movement, right? But you just haven't found the dose, the style, or the delivery method that doesn't feel like torture. Now, you don't need more intensity. What you actually do need is more permission. And you need permission to move in ways that feel supportive, not actually savage. You need permission to start where you are, not where you think you should be. You need permission to choose movement that fits your life and your body and your nervous system. And that's what this session today is all about. Not forcing you to love the gym. Fuck no, not turning you into a fitness influencer, but helping you reconnect with movement as something that supports your life instead of stealing energy from it, right? Because when movement feels safe and enjoyable and human, your body just stops resisting. And that's where the real consistency actually starts to begin. So if you're ready to keep going and you've not met me before, I am Loz Antonenko. I'm the Mojo Mentor and a healthy habit coach. I'm also a former burnout badass, a neurospicy gym junkie, and recovering perfectionist with a very long history of Monte Carlo fucking binges and a deeply complicated relationship with Lycra. Okay, I'm not even kidding. But I have personally lived on both ends of that fitness spectrum. I've trained hard and I've overtrained harder, and I've actually tied my worth to how disciplined I looked on the outside. At other times in my life, I've actually also avoided movement entirely because it felt really loaded with pressure and judgment and rules that I could never quite win. And so when I say I get it, hand on my heart, I actually fucking get it, right? And so if you've ever, one, thought burpees were invented by an actual sadist, yeah, right? Two, avoided gyms because of the mirrors and the muscle bros and the unspoken vibe of, hey, bitch, you don't belong here. If you've three, fucking believe that unless you were sore and sweating and gasping for air and questioning your life choices, exercise doesn't count, then welcome, because you're exactly where you're meant to be. Because this today is your permission slip to unlearn every toxic belief that you have ever absorbed about this thing called exercise, right? You know, the stuff that told you movement had to hurt to work. Okay, that rest was weakness, that enjoyment meant you actually weren't trying hard enough. So we're just going to fucking burn those rules to the ground today. And today we're going to be rebuilding some truths. One, that movement is not punishment for what you ate. You don't need to fucking earn food or rest or worth through suffering. Two, we're going to be rebuilding the truth that movement is not reserved for fitspo friggin' influencers with perfect lighting and zero real world responsibilities, because it belongs to everybody and everyone's body, including yours. Three, movement is how you reclaim your energy and your clarity and your confidence and your freaking joy. And four, movement is actually how you get out of your head and back into your body. It's how you regulate your stress instead of actually carrying it on your shoulders all the time. And it's how you build strength for life, not just for photographs. Now, this isn't about becoming someone else. It's actually about coming home to yourself, okay? Coming back. And today isn't about smashing yourself. It's about learning how to move in a way that supports your nervous system and your lifestyle and your long-term health. Now, we're keeping the movement, but we're ditching the nonsense, right? Essentially. So I want you to take a breath, drop your shoulders. I don't know what the fuck I was talking about. Drop your expectations as well. And let's get moving in a way that actually feels good, but without the guilt and the mirrors and the shame and the bullshit. So I'm just going to talk about the big, giant, sweaty, pink, friggin' glittery elephant in the room, that one that's stretching over in the corner while pretending everything's fine. Despite what social media and gym ads and really shouty fitness influencers want you to believe, right? Most people actually are not thriving when it comes to movement. They're literally just surviving it or avoiding it or stuck in a loop of starting, stopping, and beating themselves up. But I'm going to give you a bit of a grim statistic, a little bit of a reality check. I'm just going to grab a glass of water. Less than 25% of adults meet the World Health Organization's recommended physical activity levels. That's less than a quarter of the population of adults in the world, right? Now, most people, they sit for over 9 hours a day, which when you think about it is actually more time than you're probably spending fucking sleeping. And the majority of humans associate the word exercise with things like guilt and obligation and punishment, or trying to shrink themselves into someone who is more acceptable. Now, clearly that isn't a motivation problem, is it? It's a fucking messaging problem. It's a messaging problem. And for decades, we have been fed that very same lie on repeat. The lie that says that movement only matters if, we friggin' burn calories, if it changes our body shape and it makes you suffer. Now, if movement doesn't leave you sore and sweaty and, as I say, question your life choices, it apparently doesn't count. So then what happens, right? This is a belief we have. And so we take this action, we go all in, we sign up for the intense friggin' program, the 12-week challenge, we smash our HIIT classes 5 days in a fucking row, we ignore our energy, our stress, our levels of, commitment, our joints and our actual lives. And then what do? We fucking collapse, right? And then we cue the hit-induced friggin' regret and the mystery injuries and the sudden disappearance of all of the motivation that we once had. Or maybe we swing the other way, right? Maybe we avoid movement altogether because it feels really overwhelming or intimidating or too hard or too much or too loaded with judgment and mirrors and expectations that we don't actually want to face. And then the shame spiral kicks in. And we're saying things to ourselves like, I'm lazy. I have no willpower. Or, I just don't have discipline like other people. Or I'll start again Monday again, but only after the detox and the cleanse and the reset, and then I'll punish myself with a spin class. Round and round that friggin' conversation goes, right? But here's the truth that rarely gets said out loud, right? Most people actually don't hate movement. What they hate is what movement has been turned into. They hate the pressure and the comparison and the moralizing and the idea that their body is a problem to be fixed rather than a system to be supported. And when movement feels like judgment instead of joy, well, your nervous system does what it's designed to do, right? It resists and it avoids and it shuts down. Now, that's not failure. What that is self-protection. And so if this sounds familiar, let me say this clearly, right? Again, you're not broken. In fact, you're not lazy. You're not even bad at fitness. You've just been taught a version of movement that was never actually designed to work for real humans with real lives. And so here it is, right? The thing most of the fitness industry will never say aloud, that, it's the system that's broken. Because you were never meant to thrive inside, a routine built on punishment and pressure and comparison and unrealistic expectations. You were never meant to hate your body into health, and you're certainly never meant to white knuckle your way through movement just to prove that you're trying hard enough to everybody else. It doesn't matter. Movement should actually feel good. That's why I'm on a friggin' walking pad while I do this. I love being moving. I love walking on my walking pad when I'm talking and delivering information. Okay, movement doesn't have to be perfect or polished or Instagram ready. I'm friggin' sweating. Okay, but movement has to be doable and enjoyable, and yes, occasionally even fun. My second favorite F word, right? And before your brain jumps in, because I know it's about to, before your brain jumps in with the whole, oh yeah, but exercise, is it meant to be fun conversation? Let me just fucking stop you right now, because your brain repeats what it's been taught. And what it's been taught is that movement equals suffering, and movement equals discipline and shrinking yourself into something more acceptable. And that belief specifically is the problem, because when movement feels punishing, your nervous system, it reduces you down and resists. And when it feels judgmental, well, your brain, it avoids it. And when it feels overwhelming, your body shuts it down. Once again, not laziness, just biology. Now, the system said to you, again, it didn't hurt, didn't count, that if you enjoyed it, you weren't pushing hard enough, and then if it didn't change your body fast, you'd failed. So, of course, consistency then felt impossible. And so, of course, you kept starting and stopping. And of course you thought something was wrong with you. I mean, there's nothing wrong with you. The system was never designed for sustainability, unfortunately. But what the system was designed for was extremes and aesthetics and profit, not for real humans with real lives, busy brains and changing bodies and nervous systems that need safety before they'll cooperate. So today we're going to be dismantling the bullshit and the guilt and the all or nothing rule and the idea that movement has to look a certain way to be valid. And we're going to be rebuilding that from the ground up, right? We're going to create a version of movement that supports your energy. Okay, a version of movement that supports you instead of draining you. And a version of movement that works with your body instead of fighting it, that feels accessible even on your worst days, because, people design shit that just works for their best days, and that's not real. Because when movement does feel good, what you'll do is you'll repeat it, and when you repeat it, it becomes a habit, and when it becomes a habit, well, guess what it does? It very, very quietly changes your life. Now, up until now, most of us have been trying to make movement work inside rules that we never actually chose. Okay? These are rules we absorbed from gym culture, from diet culture, from our PE classes at school, from before and after photos, from people who made fitness look intimidating and exclusive and fucking miserable as far as I'm concerned. And here's the thing that most people miss, right? You can't build a healthy relationship with movement while you're still operating under the rules that punish you for being human. Because you're freaking human. So before we talk about how to move, even before we talk about what counts and what doesn't and what works, we need to understand the mental clutter, because some of the beliefs that you're carrying about movement, they aren't facts. They are literally assumptions and stories and conditioning, stuff you've never actually questioned. Things like, what's exercise supposed to look like? Who's it for? How hard should it be? How often should you do it? I mean, what should it give you in return? Because those beliefs, they quietly dictate your behavior. And these are the beliefs that actually decide whether you start, and they even actually decide whether you stop or whether you stick with something or give up before you've even begun. And if those beliefs are rooted in shame or pressure or perfection, well, guess what? Your nervous system, it is going to resist every single time. Once again, not a weakness, self-protection. So today, it's not about giving you new rules, okay? It's just about loosening your grip on the old ones and creating space, right? We want to create space so that we can ask questions, space to experiment. We want to create space to move without fear of getting it wrong, because you can't really get it wrong. Because once you see that a belief is actually optional, well, guess what happens to the belief? It loses power. And that's what we're going to do next, right? We're going to take the most common, most damaging movement myths. Fuck. I would really like to have some more water at this point. I'm going to take those myths, the ones that keep people stuck and keep people starting over or even avoiding movement altogether, and we're actually going to be dismantling these myths. So, top 3 myths, right? Myth number 1, if it's not hard, it doesn't count, right? Friggin' starting with this one, because, maybe you've skipped a walk because you thought, what's the point? It's not real exercise. Maybe you've talked yourself out of stretching or dancing or moving gently because it didn't feel intense enough to be worth it, right? That's not logic, it's conditioning. Because you were taught that movement only counts if it hurts. If you're gasping for air, if you're drenched in sweat, if you're sore the next day and walking like you've been hit by a small fucking vehicle, maybe one of those e-scooters. Okay, but that belief, it didn't come from your body. It came from fitness culture. Now, here's the truth, right? Your body, it doesn't understand hard versus easy. What your body understands is just movement, right? Yeah, okay, a walk increases circulation. Gentle movement actually lowers cortisol, and stretching, for example, it supports joints, it supports nervous system regulation. And light movement, it still activates muscles, and it can still improve insulin sensitivity, and it actually can boost your mood. Now, your biology, it does not say, oh, sorry, that didn't fucking hurt enough. Benefits denied, right? But that's a lie we've been sold. And the problem is that when you believe that lie, something very, very sneaky happens. What happens is you go either, too hard and burn out, or you do nothing at all because it doesn't feel like it's worth it. But both of these options keep you stuck. Now, I've got to remember, hard is not the goal, but consistency is. And movement that feels manageable is movement that you'll actually repeat, right? Movement that you repeat is movement that changes your health and your energy and your confidence over time. So next time your brain says, hey, that doesn't count, you get to say, actually, yeah, it friggin' does. Because movement that you actually do will always beat movement that you avoid. And even the best programs by the best PTs in the world do not work if people are not compliant. And this is how we start dismantling the beliefs and the myths one at a time, right? Myth number 2, you have to go to the gym. I'm a personal trainer amongst the other things that I do. But absolutely straight to jar with that belief system. No passing go, no getting you $200. Okay? Gyms are great, absolutely, for some people, some of the time. But they certainly are not mandatory. They definitely are not worth trying to go to as an entry point for movement. 100%. Not for everybody, right? Especially when gyms feel like a really hostile territory guarded by a protein shake drinking sentinel in crop top, who look like they were born friggin' yesterday doing lateral raises. Okay? We know what that we're talking about. Okay? And if you love the gym, amazing. Got it. I'm there too. Right? If it lights you up and makes you feel strong and fits your life, friggin' top work, keep going. But if the gym makes you feel intimidated, which I call gym-timidation, if it makes you feel watched or judged or overwhelmed or like you don't belong yet, it's not a personal failure, it's a nervous system response, right? Feels threatening because your body does not respond well to environments that feel unsafe. Okay? And safety, that feeling of safety, it's never about logic, it's just about perception. And if walking into a gym is sparks your anxiety, well, the thing is, your body isn't going to associate movement with joy or consistency. And what it's going to associate it with is stress. And you know what happens to stress? Well, stress kills habits. So here's the reality that fitness culture forgot to mention. Movement doesn't live in a building. Okay? Movement can be home-based. It can be outdoors. It can be in your lounge room. Lockdown taught us all of that. It can be on your driveway at a park with your kids, with your dog, with a podcast, with music, with silence. It doesn't actually matter. It can be group-based or solo, playful or fucking focused. It can be slow or sweaty or structured or chaotic or all of those and none of those. It can be 5 minutes or 50 minutes. It could be walking, lifting, stretching, dancing, gardening, swimming, cleaning, crawling around the house on the floor because your back feels fucking cooked. Okay? All of it counts. All movement matters. The best movement is not the one that looks impressive. Okay, despite what social media says to you, the best movement is the one you actually do. So instead of asking, oh, should I be going to the gym? Oh, feels weird. Why don't you try asking, actually, where do I feel comfortable moving my body? Because consistency, okay, we've spoken about this before. It does not come from forcing yourself into spaces you hate. It comes from choosing environments that support you. So choose your vibe, okay? Don't use someone else's rule book because that's how movement becomes sustainable. And myth number 3, you have to lose weight to be healthy. Okay, cue the deep sigh, that kind that you feel in your soul right now, okay? Now, I'm a nutritional counselor, and this is a belief that is one of the most damaging lies in modern wellness culture, okay? And it has kept so many people stuck in cycles of shame and punishment and self-doubt. But here's the truth, right? Health is multifactorial. Okay, it is not a number. It is not a body size. It is not something you earn by shrinking yourself physically. Okay? But health, remember, includes mental health. Health includes your stress levels, your sleep, your energy, your digestion, your immune function, your hormones, your capacity to cope with life without falling into a friggin' heap. And movement, as medicine, supports all of those things, regardless of what the scales say. Like, the scales are a terrible indication of what goes on, especially if you do start shifting body composition. Now, movement improves mood and also reduces anxiety. Movement helps regulate blood sugar and hormones. Okay, movement actually supports gut motility and digestion, helps you go to the toilet. Movement, it strengthens bones and joints and muscles, and it improves cardiovascular health and brain function. Now, none of those things actually require any weight loss. Yet, so many people have been taught that movement only, counts if it changes their body size. So you know what they do? They wait. They wait until they've lost weight, ironically. And they wait until they feel confident enough to go and do exercise and move. And they wait until their body looks more acceptable. But in the meantime, guess what happens? They miss out on all of the benefits movement offers right now. Now, it's not motivation, it is a friggin' barrier. So here is a reframe I want you to take home today. right? You do not need to change your body to be worthy of movement. Okay, you do not need to shrink yourself to deserve care. In fact, you do not need to earn health through suffering. You just need to show up as you are in the body you have today. Movement, it's not a reward for weight loss. Movement is actually a way to care for yourself while you're living your best life. It's funny because I ask people when they first engage with me about self-care, and people confuse self-care with self-soothing. People think self-care is, facial, having a massage, having some chocky and a spa and bar. No, self-care is like caring for yourself while you're living your life, doing the shit that actually makes you feel better and more capable. Self-care is like eating well and breathing and sleeping and moving and hydrating. But when we remove weight loss as the price of entry, what ends up happening is something very, very powerful. Movement actually becomes accessible, right? And consistency then becomes possible, and health, it becomes something that you build, not something that you chase. So your body is not a before photo. Your body is your home, and your body and your home deserves to be moved and supported and respected exactly as it is. Now, I want to level with you. There was a long stretch in my life where I genuinely believed movement was something that you had to earn food with, right? You had to use movement to earn rest and to earn worth. So I was smashing workouts. I was training really hard. I was training really often. I was tracking every calorie like it was my full-time job. And I was convincing myself that the smaller and the leaner and the more controlled I became, the more lovable, successful, and, together I would actually be. And so I did bikini shows. I had a six-pack. I had the shredded selfies. I had lots and lots of compliments, a lot of external gratification. And from the outside, looked like peak discipline and peak health. But behind all of the really polished photos and the flex poses, I tell you what, I was exhausted. I was obsessed. I was constantly thinking about food. I was terrified of missing a workout, like fucking petrified. And my whole life, my whole body was running on adrenaline, caffeine, and just sheer bloody willpower. Now, my relationship with my body, it was absolutely not one of care. It was one of just insane control, right? Movement wasn't something I did to support my body. It was something I used to override it, to ignore fatigue, to push through pain, to silence hunger and prove something, mostly to myself. And eventually, my body pushed back, right? Okay, it took autoimmune flares, a complete collapse of my adrenals, chronic inflammation, and a very, very, very blunt wake-up call from my own therapist for me to finally actually see what the fuck has been happening with my body, right? I hadn't been, committed. What I'd been is at war with myself. Now, I had weaponized movement, against my own body, and I'd called it discipline, right? I'd given it that label. And that realization, it really changed everything for me. So now, movement looks very different in my life, right? So I now move for energy, not exhaustion, for mental health, not control. I move for mobility, not aesthetics, and for freedom, not punishment. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I do. I fucking lift heavy, right? Yeah, I also love a really good Pilates burn. Not that I get it much these days. I've been teaching Pilates for more than 2 decades. But I genuinely enjoy feeling really strong and capable. And, I also walk, as you can see. I also dance around the house in my undies. Okay. I fidget a lot. I stretch. I teach stretching classes. I meditate. I move gently when my body asks for it and back off when it needs rest. Now, movement for me is no longer a transaction. Okay, movement is now a relationship. And now movement is how I regulate my nervous system, right? It's how I process stress. It's how I stay connected to my body instead of disassociating with it. And it's actually how I build a body that supports my life and the life that I want to lead, not one that dominates it. So now in my life, movement is a celebration. It's not a punishment. And that's exactly what I want for you, right? Not a perfect routine, not a fucking shredded body, not a life ruled by rules. Ugh. Okay, but what we want to create for you guys is It's a relationship with movement that feels supportive and flexible and freeing, and one that gives you energy instead of taking it from you. One that fits your real life, not an idolized version of it. Because when movement comes from care and not control, everything actually changes for you. So you don't need a program to start moving. Okay? What if movement meant this, right? Okay, a bit of a reframe. What if movement wasn't another thing on your to-do list? What if movement wasn't something you had to psych yourself up for, recover from, or feel guilty about from skipping? You know? What if movement actually gave you more energy than it took? You know, not the weird kind, and not even the wired kind. You know, that really steady, calm, I can handle my day kind energy. What if movement fit into your day without needing a full fucking outfit change and a perfectly timed window or a motivational playlist to convince yourself it was worth doing? What if movement helped you process stress instead of creating more? Instead of adding pressure, it helped your nervous system downshift. Instead of feeling like another demand, it actually became a release. Yeah. What if, it quietly improved things you don't usually associate with exercise at all? Your posture. So you stop carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. Your digestion. So your gut actually does what it's designed to do. Your sleep, so that you fall asleep easier and wake up feeling less wrecked. Your mood, because movement regulates brain chemistry better than most people realize. Your confidence, because following through actually builds trust with yourself. And yeah, I'll say it, your sex life too, because energy, circulation, and body confidence matter way more than crunches ever will. What if movement wasn't something you had to earn? What if it wasn't reserved for people who already feel fit, confident, or motivated? In fact, what if you didn't need to start a program or join a gym or overhaul your life? Yeah. What if you just needed to start where you're at right now, in the body that you have, on the day you're in? Yeah. What if movement could be as simple as standing up more, or walking more, or stretching more, or playing more, or letting your body do what it was built to do more? Yeah, with no rules, no pressure, no performance. Just movement that meets you where you are right now and supports you moving forward. Because when you strip away the noise, the truth is actually really simple, right? You don't need to become someone else to move. You actually just need to move. All right, so we're going to get super, super duper practical. And before we rush into doing more and fixing things or being better, we need to just pause. Because every single one of us, we have a movement story. I just shared mine. And whether we realize it or not, that movement story is shaping how we relate to our body right now. So grab your pen or your friggin' whatever it is that you're using. Open a workbook or a journal or your phone notes section. Okay, whatever it is that you're doing. This part isn't about right answers. It's about honest answers. So we're going to start at the beginning. Questions. Prompts. What did movement look like in your childhood? That's your first question. Was it playful? Was it free? Was it joyful? Or was your movement really structured or pressured or performance-based or ties to praise and approval? You can pause it if you need to. I'll wait here. Did you move because it felt good or because you were told to? Okay. Why did you move? Were you encouraged or were you criticized, compared, or overlooked? Because those experiences matter way more than we think. Okay, next, we're going to take a look at the messages that you've absorbed along the way. Okay, what were you taught about what counts as a real exercise? Okay, what were you taught about that? Did exercise have to be sweaty? Did it have to hurt? Did it have to happen in a gym? Did it only count if it changed your body? Remember, you can pause and come back. Now, none of those beliefs came out of nowhere, right? They were learned. And the best thing about that means they can also be unlearned. So I want you to tune into your body, not into your head. More questions. When does your body actually feel its best? I don't know. After walking outside? After stretching before bed? When you're dancing in the kitchen? Is it after lifting something heavy? Or is it when you've just moved gently and breathed deeply? I don't know. Pick one. None of those are wrong. Because your body already knows what works, right? We just don't always listen. Once again, pause and come back. And finally, let's just be really honest about what's stopping you right now. Okay, is it time? Is it the belief that movement has to take a long time? Is it shame about how your body looks or how you think you look while you're moving? Okay, maybe is it pain? Is it injury? Is it a fear of making things worse? Know what that feels like? Is it fatigue? Is it chronic fatigue, or is it just fatigue from doing too much for too long, or too little from doing too little too long? That makes sense? Is it the fear of starting again and stopping again? Okay, what is stopping you? Name it. Okay, don't judge it. We're not naming it to fix it immediately, just to acknowledge it, yeah? Because awareness, if you've been coming to these long enough, awareness is power. And you can't change a pattern you refuse to look at. But the moment you see it clearly, it really starts to loosen its grip. So this is about reflection, okay? It's not about blaming the past. It's about understanding it. Because you can choose differently going forward if you start to look at what it is and you have some awareness over it. All right, so this is where we ditch perfection and start building flow. Now, I want you to forget rigid plans, fitness rules, and shoulds, right? We're going to stop shooting over ourselves for a moment. Instead, we're creating something flexible and human and actually usable. So I'm going to welcome you to your movement menu. And just like food, movement works best when you have options, when you're not locked into one rigid choice, when you can meet your energy and your mood and your body where they are on the day. Now, your movement menu, it's a list of really go-to options that you can choose. Okay, so you can choose from this menu depending on how you feel, how much time you have, and what your body's actually asking for. So here's how to think about it. So we've got low impact options first, okay? And these are really gentle, grounding, nervous system friendly moves. So think walking, yoga, tai chi, stretching, okay? Really perfect for stressful days or sore days or days where motivation is low, but movement would still probably help. We all have those days. We've then got our strength options. Now, this is about feeling capable in your body, but not smashing yourself, right? So think body weight exercises, resistance bands, okay? Lifting groceries with flair and confidence even, you know? Strength builds bone health and muscle and posture and self-trust, and it's very functional. It doesn't have to be flashy. Then we've got cardio, right? And no, doesn't have to be suffering. It can be dancing, skipping, stairs, sex, absolutely 100%. Anything that gets your heart rate up, okay? Anything that gets your heart rate up counts, okay? Now, your heart doesn't care if it's fucking impressed or not. It actually doesn't give a shit. And then we got the joyful, weird shit, okay? Now, this is where the magic lives. This is my fucking favorite shit, right? Trampolining, hula hooping, skipping ropes, flow toys, you know? Anything that makes you feel playful or curious or slightly ridiculous in the best way possible. Aerial fucking yoga. Weird, novel shit. Because joy is a really powerful motivator. And your nervous system, it friggin' loves novelty. Now, here's the only rule that matters, right? Movement must bring energy, not just burn calories. And if it leaves you depleted or resentful or dreading the next session, it does not belong on your movement menu. If it leaves you clearer and calmer and stronger or more like yourself, though, it stays. So let's make this really personal. I've got an action for you to write down. I want you to jot down your top 5 favorite movement types. Okay, not the ones you think you should like, but the ones you actually enjoy doing or at least don't hate, okay? And circle the ones that you could realistically do tomorrow. Now, not next week, not when life calms down, but tomorrow. Bonus question. What would 10 minutes of that look like? Not an hour, not a fucking full workout, just 10 minutes, right? Because this is how consistency starts. Remember, choice over pressure. We want flow over force. Okay, and we want a menu instead of a mandate, because when movement feels like a choice, not a chore, you can come back to it again and again. All right, so this is my secret weapon for the days you feel really flat and fried or busy or unmotivated or just over it, because waiting to feel ready is how momentum dies. And instead, what we do is we make movement so small your brain can't argue with it. So we've got 3 moves, 1 minute total every single day. That's it. Now, it's not a workout, just a reminder, not a workout. This is a nervous system nudge, a little reminder to your body that you're still in charge. So here's how it works, right? We got a 30-second shakeout. Whoo, 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 whoo. Shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. I'm not going to do it on a treadmill as I normally would because I'll fucking fall off. But exactly like a toddler does mid-tantrum, Okay, shake your arms, bounce your knees, wiggle your shoulders, let your jaw unclench. Okay, this wakes up your lymphatic system. Okay, and your lymphatic system relies on movement to function. Absolutely, it does. It also discharges stress and tension that your body has been holding onto all day. Now, it might feel silly. That's kind of the point, right? Then we got a 30-second stretch. So pick anything. Now, there's no wrong choice here. We got shoulders, we got neck, we got hips, we got spine, anything. Now, breathe while you do it. Slow down. Okay? Let your body soften instead of bracing. Now, this tells your nervous system that you're safe, right? And when your body feels safe, it cooperates. We then got 30 seconds of breath and posture check. So we're going to stand tall or sit, feet grounded, chest open but relaxed, and we're going to breathe through our nose. And we scan our body, if you can have your eyes closed to do this, head to toe. Okay, and we want to notice where we're gripping, where we're clenching, and let it go. And that's it, right? Boom. Okay, you've moved, you've reset, you've interrupted stress instead of marinating in it, and you're winning. Now, here's the part I really want you to hear. Do not underestimate micro shifts. They are exactly how momentum is built. These are how habits form. And they are how trust grows with yourself. Okay? Now, this 1 minute, it tells your brain, oh, I take care of myself. Oh, fuck, I don't need to be perfect. Conditions don't need to be perfect. And that I follow through. And once that signal is sent, bigger movement often naturally follows on. But even if it doesn't, this shit still counts, right? Because consistency, right? Not built on heroic effort. It's built on small, unsexy, repeatable wins. So on the days you feel stuck, do the minute, okay? Or a little bit more. And on the days you feel good, do more if you want. Either way, you're moving forwards. And that is exactly how change actually happens. All right, I'm going to give you a 7-day move challenge. Because you're not leaving this webinar with some fucking warm and fuzzy feeling and good intentions. You're going to be leaving with a plan. Because motivation fades. Okay, got it. Life gets busy and inspiration without action is just entertainment. Okay? Seriously. So here's how we lock it in. Your challenge is very simple. And it's simple on purpose. We're going to pick one movement from your movement menu. Not 5. Not the fucking ideal one, but the one you'll actually do. The lowest hanging fruit. Step 2 is you're going to do it for 7 days. No skipping because it isn't perfect. No restarting because you missed a day. 7 days of showing up imperfectly. Step 3, minimum of 10 minutes per day. Now, you can do it more if you want. I don't give a shit. But 10 minutes counts. 10 minutes builds trust and 10 minutes builds momentum. Step 5, track it. In fact, celebrate it, share it, because progress that's acknowledged is progress that sticks. Now, this isn't about grinding quietly and hoping for a change and just wishing. This is about noticing yourself follow through. Now, if you want a tracker, I'll put one in here so you don't have to overthink it. You can tick it off, you can build evidence, and you can feel proud. And if you're already inside the Mojo Dojo, I want you to share your progress in the community, in the chat, not to show off, but to normalize effort, right? To stay accountable. And just to remind yourself that you're not doing it alone. And if you're not in the Mojo Dojo, if you're not in there yet, don't stress because I got something for you, because this challenge is exactly how everything inside the Mojo Dojo works, right? Real movement, real habits, real follow through. No extremes, no shame, no disappearing after one fucking week. So take the challenge, move your body, build the momentum. And 7 days from now, you won't just feel different. Guess what? You'll trust yourself even more. And that trust just on its own changes everything. So I did just mention the Mojo Dojo. If you're loving this vibe and this permission and what we've gone through today and this, oh shit, this actually makes sense feeling has sort of kicked in, imagine having it every single month, not just in a one-off webinar with me. Okay, and that's exactly what happens inside the Mojo Dojo. So the Mojo Dojo is my online learning academy, and this is where we take everything you felt today and turn it into lived habits, not abandoned notes in a fucking workbook. Because we know what that's like, right? Now, inside the Mojo Dojo, along with everything I just went through, you get heaps of things. 1, you get access to the library of laws. That's every tool, every tracker, every cheat sheet, checklist, script, and every guide I've ever created, even those really late night ones that, were born on protein bars and unhinged frigging clarity spirals, ADHD. It's all there and it's ready for you when you need it. Number 2, you get all my courses, food, fitness, mindset, focus, habits, a whole ecosystem. No upsells, no frigging gatekeeping. No, oh, you need the fucking next level to fix yourself nonsense. I don't do that shit. Right? 3, deep dive monthly masterclasses. So just like this, but longer and richer and more detailed, and we slow it down and we go deeper and we actually connect the dots between the knowledge and the real life. Number 4, we get our Loz and Found sessions. Now, these are our monthly live Q&A where you bring your real questions and your real struggles and your real wins. Now, this isn't polished influencer energy. This is support and perspective and practical guidance that's done live. And 5, you also get community accountability and monthly challenges because habits don't stick in isolation. They stick when you're surrounded by other real human beings showing up imperfectly and keeping other people moving forward. Now, this is not about doing more, right? That's not what this is about. It's about doing what matters consistently, right? Now, you're not meant to figure this out alone. You're not meant to friggin' white knuckle your way through your health, and you are definitely not meant to keep starting over every fucking Monday. And inside the Mojo Dojo, you actually don't have to. Okay, it's less than $200 a month, which is honestly about the cost of one chaotic supplement haul and a couple of fucking clean treats that taste like sadness or a gym membership that, you feel guilty about not using. But instead of that, you get structure and support and momentum in a place where you're allowed to be human while you build habits that actually last. And so if you're ready to keep going, there's a link here. There's a QR code. And I'll actually put the link in the video. But no pressure, no hard sell, not my vibe. Just a very open door if you ever want to come inside. Because I'd love to have you there, and so would the other people in the community. So before you log off, before life rushes back in, I just want you to remember this. You do not need to be fit to start moving. Okay, you don't need to have a program or a plan or a perfectly curated routine. You do not need new shoes or matching activewear or a sudden personality transplant. Okay, you need permission. And today I'm giving it to you. Okay, permission to move imperfectly, permission to move gently, permission to move in a way that doesn't look impressive to anyone, but actually just feels good to you. And move because it feels good in your body. Move because your body deserves joy, not judgment. Move because, it's the fastest way to shift your energy without changing your postcode or your job or your entire life. Remember, movement is not a test of discipline. It's actually a conversation with your nervous system, and it's a way of saying, hey, I'm here. I care, I'm listening. Remember, you're not lazy. You're not broken. And you're definitely not failing at fitness. You're just not lit up by fucking burpees. Okay? And that's more than okay. Right? Burpees, thumbs down symbol, 100%. Sometimes they're necessary for certain people. But it's okay if you're not lit up by burpees, because you don't need to force yourself into someone else's idea of healthy. You get to choose what movement looks like for you this season, in this body, on this day. So let's keep it simple and let's keep it human. We're going to move and we're going to laugh and we're going to drop the bullshit, okay? Not because you should, but because you can. And movement isn't just something you do, right? It's how you get to be in the world. It's how you meet your day, how you process stress, how you shift your energy when your head is loud and your body feels heavy. So fucking walk, dance, stretch, shake, groove, wiggle, roll, fidget, fucking play. I don't care. Move your body in ways that it's asking for, not the ways you think you should. Move your body like your life depends on it, because it actually does. Not for weight loss, not for approval, not to earn food, rest, or worth, but for energy and clarity and confidence and power. For the version of you who feels more alive in their body and more present in their life. And you don't need to overhaul everything. You just need to move. So move your ass and change your life. Peace. Ciao for now, and see you at the next one.